Hello and welcome to ThePrint. This is Dishha Bagchi, and today we have with us Israeli journalist Yeshaya Rosenman from Jerusalem to talk about the recent conflict between Israel and the militant group Hamas, which launched a surprise infiltration into southern Israel Saturday. Estimates suggest that more than 300 people have died so far and over 2,000 have been injured in both Gaza and Israel. Today, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to destroy Hamas, avenge the attack, and even asked residents of Gaza to leave the region before Israel's counteroffensive. So thank you so much, Mr. Rosenman, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So firstly, could you tell us a little bit about the current situation and what it's like in Jerusalem, and how have the circumstances developed over the past day?
Yes, so kindly allow me one brief correction. 300 people dead and 1,000 wounded is only on the Israeli side. On the Gaza side, there are another 200 or so, and thousands wounded. And this is only the beginning. So to start from the beginning, yesterday I was at my parents' house, not in the south, but closer to the south. And I got up it was a holiday. It was the final day of the 3-week holiday season that begins with New Year's, around 3 weeks back. I got up for morning prayers, and the rockets, which was scheduled for 6:30, the rockets started a bit before 6:30, and there were sirens for around 2 hours, which is highly unusual since my parents don't live so close to the south, and I've never had this before in my parents' town. It was a festive prayers that were destroyed. Honestly, there should have been around 300 people at my synagogue. In the beginning, we barely had the 10 people necessary to start. And at the climax, there were only 50, and since religious Jews do not use electronic devices on the holiday, so we were getting only initial reports from doctors and army officers who were telling us a little of what had happened. And after the holiday was over, I realized the full magnitude of what had happened. It's terrible. This was the nightmare that nobody wanted to believe could happen. It's a Pearl Harbor moment. Your editor, Shekhar Gupta, was correct in comparing it to the Yom Kippur War. This was a disaster that no one wanted to believe could happen. The line of defense fell completely along the Gaza border, similar to the Kav Bar-Lev defense of the Yom Kippur War. And the results were a disaster. This was like, again, if I was an Indian, I would reference Mahmoud Rory and Mahmoud Razni and Muhammad Rory, invaders coming in, and the pictures that have come out of Gazans taking away hostages were particularly unsettling. Pictures of, officially no names have been released, but there are on Facebook you can find Facebook groups of people who were at the party in the Re'im forest who were abducted. Many young people were abducted, one of whom I believe she had an unusual name. I believe I'd recently been with her in Himachal Pradesh in my last visit. So there was a young mother, and her 2-year-old and 4-year-old daughter were captured, an elderly senile woman, and more. So what Netanyahu was happening. So this was amid a barrage of thousands of rockets. Gazans, Hamas operatives and Palestinian Islamic Jihad operatives, and even a more radical group than Hamas, had come in, a few hundred of them across the border, fully armed. They walked into the town of Sderot, the closest town to, they rode into the town of Sderot, the closest town to the Gaza border, and shot indiscriminately at people. They took over the police station and got even more weapons. It was a holiday, and people were definitely caught unprepared, and the results were a disaster. And there was the latest reports I saw said that all the hostage situations were finished, except for 6. There was still 6. A full day afterwards, there are still 6 scenes of battle where there are gunfights. I believe there are no hostage situations at this point, but I'm not sure. So this is only the first step. Nobody is. Netanyahu has declared war. They have recruited reserve soldiers, tens of thousands. My own family as well. And it's unclear what the objectives of this war will be. This is the main question I'm asking myself strategically, because ever since the logic behind the 2005 withdrawal from Gaza was that we shouldn't be there, is that we're better off, there will be more peace without Israeli presence in Gaza. no settlers, no army, will hide behind the border, and that'll be it. And now this logic, even the staunchest supporters of the disengagement from Gaza, who believe, yes, this is peace and whatever, they are now completely fed up with the situation, and it's unclear what will happen. Other than if your objective is conquering Gaza, then it's clear what victory looks like. If it's not, then it's unclear.
Right. So you mentioned a couple of things. Firstly, the scale of the militant group's attack on Israel, also the Yom Kippur War. So we'll come back to that. But firstly, talking about the scale of how they attacked Israel using land, sea, and air. And we've also, as you mentioned, seen disturbing visuals from Israel of women, children, soldiers being taken hostage, civilians being killed. And the Hamas military leader called it Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, which is referring to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. So what do you think, while we can't understand a definite on what the group tried to achieve through the attack, what do you think was some of the motivations and what it tried to achieve?
Okay, so before I will define it in contemporary terms, I would like to define it in their own terms. The document to reference here is the Hamas Charter, or Hamas Covenant in another, available online in full in English and the original Arabic and Hebrew as well. You can find a commentary on the Meir Amit intelligence side, on the Israeli Foreign Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In their own terms, they define this as jihad. It is a religiously motivated war, and I won't go into the Islamic terminology, but in their terms, it is an obligation on each and every Muslim worldwide. And that is why you'll see people like Senator Mushtaq Ahmed from Pakistan rallying to the cause. I will also, another thing worth mentioning is that there are, in essence, there are no moral restrictions on this war. In other words, it's a total war. As far as they're concerned, women are legitimate targets, so are children, so are elderly. They have Yusuf al-Qaradawi, the late Muslim Brotherhood Islamic Authority, had famously prohibited suicide attacks worldwide and allowed them only in Israel. So basically, there are no moral restrictions. On the contrary, humiliation of the Israelis is an integral part of the war, and since this shows the superiority of Islamic forces, so undoubtedly we will see a lot more disturbing visuals, and I hope newsrooms are responsible enough not to show much of these things. As far as their immediate goals, I would say that first of all, they want to solidify their role as saviors of the Palestinians. They already have the majority support of the vast majority of Palestinians in Judea and Samaria and the territories support them. They are trying as well to rally Israeli Arab citizens. 20% of the Israeli population are Arabs. They are trying to rally them. So far, thank God, unsuccessfully, but we don't know. And they're also trying to rally other Iranian proxies around the region, most notably Hezbollah in Lebanon, who so far have stayed out of it, but you don't know what could happen immediately. So they are trying to solidify their role as Islamic saviors, as Palestinian saviors. The immediate trigger, they can mention Al-Aqsa. Again, Al-Aqsa fil Khatar, Al-Aqsa is in danger, is the battle cry of the Palestinians ever since the Mufti Haj Amin al-Husseini, who rallied this call in Jamia Millia Islamia University in India. So this goes back a long way, but Al-Aqsa is a cause that can be cited at any time. Nothing unusual has happened there recently. And I will also say that the Abraham Accords, and if there's any immediate political concern that they have, it's the spreading of the Abraham Accords, most notably the negotiations with Saudi Arabia, that if you ask me, are a done deal, and the only issue is the details of the deal. So they are alarmed that they are losing support of the greater Islamic world, because initially the primary success of Palestinian diplomacy had been rallying the entire Islamic world behind the Palestinian cause, and that is eroding.
Right. So you mentioned the ongoing talks between Israel and Saudi Arabia. So just to mention that, and talking about the timing of this attack, it's quite interesting, since 6th October would mark the 50 years of the Yom Kippur War. So the timing of the Hamas's attack on Israel was quite interesting. So what do you think it signified?
Well, like I said, first of all, these people are religious. We can think of, I personally think their religion is devil worship. It's a satanic death cult, but they look at it in religious terms, and to them, it was a Jewish holiday, and the Jews shouldn't be in Israel. They shouldn't be celebrating holidays here. And the fact that they were able to destroy a Jewish holiday was of particular significance to them. The Yom Kippur War might be an inspiration. This no doubt will be rallied. This operation of Hamas is undergoing now will no doubt be portrayed for years to come as a significant, victory of their warriors, similar to the way Egypt likes to portray the Yom Kippur War in their museum. It's a question what the long-term significance will be for the Palestinians. Will they try to duplicate this activity with settlements in Judea and Samaria, etc. So that's what I was thinking.
Right. So just zooming in on Israel again, over the past year, the country has faced intense domestic divisions under the Netanyahu government, massive protests against the government's judicial reforms. So how do you see this war impact domestic politics in the country? Yesterday, the judicial reform protests, so the meetings that were supposed to take place every Saturday, they were cancelled considering the security situation. So do you think this is going to domestically unite people, or do you think these intense divisions will continue to persist?
So this I can already give an empirical answer for. One of the threats of the protesters was not to appear for reserve duty. And so far, they've called up tens of thousands of reservists, and appearance has been over 100%. In other words, even people who have not yet been called up have already appeared. So that threat was an empty threat, thank God. And I will say that everyone is united now in thwarting off the enemy. Even people who are trying to deny the severity of the situation are completely fed up, and they want Times of Israel reporter Chaviv Ratig pointed out correctly that now many restraints on power will be removed because people are very angry. Beyond that, so I will say people are united now. There have been calls from Benny Gantz and other people. Netanyahu has requested a unity government. This probably will happen, but Benny Gantz said he wants to remove the far-right minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, or even a bit more less far-right, but still ideologically right-wing, Bezalel Smotrich from the government. I don't know if this will happen, but there is a unity government. People have put these, as is customary in Israel in times of war, people have put these differences behind them, and they will reappear again once the war is over. And there will also be a committee, without any doubt, there will be a committee of investigation of how this actually happened, similar to what there was after the Yom Kippur War, and that will also raise many more accusations against the government.
Right. Since you mentioned the inquiry, many are also suggesting that this attack obviously caught Israel by surprise, as Netanyahu also mentioned, and this shows a sort of failure of its intel. What do you make of that?
So there was one man, General Yitzhak Brik, B-R-I-K, who has been calling out as a lone voice now for quite a while, how the intelligence is, how the military is unprepared, and they are following paradigms that are simply incorrect, etc., etc. No, and he was not taken seriously because I think the correct analysis is that there were many people who had a vested interest in continuing to do what they were doing till now and not thinking anything different. And again, there was a lot of lax behavior. It wasn't only intelligence, it was lax behavior as far as the military was concerned. There used to be restrictions on Gazans coming up to the fence, right up to the fence. There used to be 300-meter distance where they could not come without being shot at with rubber bullets. But the Gazans were allowed to come right in front of the fence. And for months now, Islamic Jihad forces were now they were coming close to the fence and making all sorts of maneuvers, which we now know were drills for the real thing that happened yesterday. So I think, yes, the comparison is correct that many people didn't want to see what was happening. It's also, I would say, very unusual that they were. I mean, obviously, thousands of people in Gaza knew what was going on in the planning for all these events, and the Israeli intelligence wasn't able to get hold of any of it. So it's unusual. We like to think as Israelis that that we have technology and all that. I will also, one last point I will make is that the disengagement, the primary difference between what the situation in Gaza and in the territories in Judea and Samaria is that there we have soldiers on the ground, and in Gaza we don't. We don't have anyone on the ground, and the intelligence is by definition impaired once you don't have people on the ground.
Right. So just zooming out from Israel and just looking at it from an international perspective, many observe that Israel was, at its strongest globally before the attack. And since yesterday, Netanyahu has made several strong statements, vowing to avenge all those killed in Israel. And numerous world leaders like US President Joe Biden, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, EU leaders, and across the globe, leaders have come in support of the country's right to defend. So where do you think internationally Israel is going to stand after this war, after this attack?
Yes, so as of now, we were attacked and we haven't mounted a counterattack yet. So this is the moment, the Pearl Harbor moment when everyone is grieving for America. At this point, at this stage in time, I don't know if every single one, but the vast majority of world leaders have come out first-rate world leaders have come out supporting Israel openly. Even people who are usually enemies of Israel, people like Senator Ilhan Omar in America, people who are very critical of Israel and sympathize with Islamist forces, have come out against this attack. The only people at this point who support it are hardcore genocidal supporters and their fellow travelers on the radical left, like the BDS movement in America. It's a disgrace that these people are tolerated on American campuses. They should receive the same treatment as neo-Nazis. But the real question is what will happen once the military operation begins in Gaza. If it is a full-scale conquest of Gaza, that will take months, and there will be tens of thousands of armed Gazans killed in battle, even before civilians. So the real question to ask is, at what point will the tunes change? Will these world leaders start saying this is enough, and will Netanyahu have the fortitude to continue with his till full victory?
Right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Rosenman, for your insights. Firstly, regarding the on-ground circumstances domestically, how this attack is going to be interpreted, and what are some of Hamas's motivations, and lastly, from an international perspective, how world leaders will look at this attack. So I hope you and your family are safe in Jerusalem, and thank you so much for your insights. And thank you for everyone joining us at The Print. We'll keep you updated on all the latest developments in this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Peace upon Israel.